Metal Gear Solid 3 is the first of the prequel games and takes place in the 1960s. The story follows the origins of Big Boss, who was the original Snake, as he initially is tasked in helping with the defection of a top Soviet scientist, but eventually uncovers a conspiracy that will be the start of his rise to becoming a living legend. In this first video of 2 parts, I've managed to put together as many Easter eggs, references, and any other points of interests that I could find. And if you do enjoy this, then subscribe, that way you can stay up to date on the release of part 2, as well as all future videos I put up. Now it's time to save the world from the threat of a nuclear war. Starting out on the main title screen, like in the previous game, you can manipulate various things on the screen depending on what buttons are pressed. Snake's CQC animation can be sped up or slowed. Exiting and returning to the main title will change the background camouflage patterns, and the colour can change by moving one of the analog sticks. The symbols that appear in the background can be moved in any direction, and there are plenty of other things you can try out for your own amusement. After selecting New Game, there are several options to choose from before starting gameplay. Though there are differences, none have any major impact on the game. Selecting the top option doesn't really add anything, but going on to I like MGS1 will have a slight increase in Snake's stamina. The MGS2 option changes the intro cutscene to Snake wearing a Raiden mask, followed by a unique scene of Snake unmasking and saying his classic line over the radio.
Can you hear me, Major Tom? This is Snake. Kept you waiting, huh?
Selecting I like MGS3 will unlock new game difficulties, have early access to face in uniform camos, and unlocking Demo Theater on the main menu. During the opening cutscene, the game's title can be seen on Snake's oxygen mask, but this isn't the only thing of interest, as the crewman also has something on the back of his. For a moment, the name Duke is revealed, though I'm only speculating, as the character of Snake is based on Snake Plissken from the classic movie Escape from New York. It's possible that this name may be a reference to the villain of the film, who was called the Duke of New York. Players can also manipulate cutscenes throughout the game. By holding down the triangle button and using the left stick, you can zoom into the scene and move the camera around, and pressing the circle button when a character's name appears will change the voice actor's name to that of the Japanese motion capture actors. There's a humorous thing that can happen to Snake if you go into the survival viewer. By spinning him around several times and exit back to gameplay, Snake will throw up and a part of his stamina will deplete. In addition to this, there's a small detail that happens to let the player know the Snake needs to eat. If they're not paying attention to the diminishing stamina meter, then his stomach will start growling. On the second playthrough, Snake will be able to wear this tuxedo. If he puts it on during the virtuous mission and contacts the boss, she will reproach him.
Snake.
What's up, boss?
Don't you what's up me. Just what do you think you're doing?
Looks pretty good on me, doesn't it?
Listen, wise ass. Camouflage isn't gonna do jack if it doesn't help you blend in with your surroundings.
A grenade can be thrown into the mouth of a crocodile. If done successfully, then you'll hear the croc gulping it down before the muffled sound of the grenade goes off. This is somewhat comical, like something out of a cartoon, but it does reward Snake with plenty of food to stock up on. At the abandoned factory in Rasvet, before entering the room where Sokolov is being held, there are a couple of different reactions you can hear from him depending on what Snake does, such as tapping on the wall or firing weapons through the window. And even throwing a live snake into the room will scare him. If Snake tries to enter Sokolov's room wearing the Rykov mask, he'll be prevented by Major Zero.
Snake, when you meet Sokolov, don't go in wearing that mask.
Why?
He won't like it.
won't like it.
No.
Why not?
Just trust me, he won't.
Anytime in the game Snake dies, the mission failed screen will eventually reveal the words time paradox. However, by killing other characters essential to the future of Metal Gear games, then not only will the time paradox words slowly appear, you will also hear a voice cameo from Colonel Campbell.
Snake, you can't do that. The future will change. You'll create a time paradox.
After the boss's supposed betrayal, Snake is left on the riverbank to recover. Before entering the cure menu, turning the camera to the left will reveal the skeletal remains of the Sorrow. He can also be seen in the cutscene when prompted to press R1 and looking over to the left. He's a former member of the Cobra unit who the player will encounter later in the game. Like the title screen, this opening sequence can be manipulated depending on the buttons used. By pressing R1, you can provide backup vocals to the song. The credits can change between English, Japanese, Russian, or even gets replaced entirely with a skeleton snake, and can be redirected as it moves across the screen. The various symbols seen in the background can also be moved around, and by entering the Konami code before the titles even appear, you will hear a confirmation sound before the names in the credits change to that of the staff responsible for working on this intro. In the survival viewer, there's another cool detail you can view. Besides the curing and eating cutscenes that can randomly pop up, there are also animations that Snake will do on the X-ray screen depending on his condition. When fighting Ocelot at Bolshaya Pass, there are various things Snake can do to amuse or anger the Ocelot unit and the young Major himself.
From that range, huh? Son of a... Son of a bitch!
And during the standoff, if Snake has the single action army at this point and spins the revolver, it'll impress Ocelot, who will then do the same.
Right. Not bad.
A useful item to have throughout the game is the fake death pill. It can be used to trick enemies, or even allies, into believing Snake is dead and letting their guard down. Using it more than once on the same person, however, won't trick them again, but it's fun to use, just to see their reaction.
What? It's over. Fun while it lasted. He's back from the dead.
What's going on? It's over already. What a disappointment. Huh? You're alive?
What's wrong? Snake! Snake! You're alive?
There's a small detail that can easily be missed inside the caves. When passing any group of bats, they may attack Snake, chipping away at its health, and it's the sonar that's interesting, as using it will send out a sound that stops the bats from attacking for a short time. In the boss battle against the Pain, there are a few things that you can try out. Attempting to escape the fight will cause a swarm of bees to block the path out. Throwing grenades at the Pain will cause his bees to capture them and send them back to Snake. If you get hit by a bullet bee, looking at the X-ray in the survival viewer will show the bee inside of Snake's body. And for comical effect, put on the croc cap and hear his reaction.
Enough with the parlor tricks! You're embarrassing!
MGS games are never above having funny codec or radio calls from the support team whenever the player does something they disapprove of. By equipping certain items and contacting Zero, Paramedic or SIGINT, you can hear what they have to say.
Snake, what are you doing?
I'm in a box.
Why are you...
I don't know, I was just looking at it, and suddenly I got this irresistible urge to get inside. You should come inside the box. Then you'll know what I mean.
Man, I don't want to know what you mean.
Snake, what in God's name?
How does it look?
It looks cool.
Don't you think it looks silly? Doesn't it make you laugh? Aren't you going to ask me what the hell I was thinking?
Ah, you're wearing the chocolate chip pattern.
Why'd you call it chocolate chip?
Because that's what it reminds me of. Those little round cookies that Major's always snacking on.
They're not cookies, they're scones.
Snake, what's up? Why are you naked?
It feels good. Is there a way to take off my pants?
Oh, hell no. This Fox unit is a nut fest.
You can kill one of the Cobras earlier than you're supposed to. By acquiring the SVD rifle before reaching the warehouse, Snake will have a chance to shoot the end just before he disappears into the building. There are plenty of things that the player can do with the regular soldiers. Like in MGS2, you can shoot the exclamation mark on their head, which will put them in a daze for a few seconds. And placing an adult magazine on the ground, you can see what they do. Unlike the last game, this time around shooting the soldiers' limbs won't result in them trying to escape the area, they will instead heal themselves. In the forest north of the warehouse, you can find a couple of dead scientists who were killed by traps.
Major, I found a...
I know. It's probably a scientist who fled from the lab. I'd wager that the traps in those woods are set up more to deal with would-be escapees than to keep intruders out.
In a room on the second floor of Granny Gorky, there are some paintings that were seen in Silent Hill 3, which is another Konami game that was released a year before MGS3. Another reference to Silent Hill 3 are the various books and posters that have the words "Turnail," which can be found throughout both of the games. Its meaning has no relevance to the game, however, as it's more of a Silent Hill thing. There are various magazines promoting MGS3 that can be found in the lab as well as the main base. You can even shoot them open to view the double-page spreads. These covers are from actual games magazines. During the cutscene with Granin, there are various models that can be seen that homage other games. One is visible behind the director and is from the Zone of the Enders series. And there are two other models on the shelf that show Metal Gear Rex and Metal Gear Ray from the previous two MGS games. And as a side note, this picture of Emmerich is Ottocon's father, Huey, who will be in Peace Walker and MGS5. After speaking with Granin, if the player stays outside of his room, you can irritate him by making some noise, or just by standing outside of the door for a few moments. Granin will start talking in his sleep.
I have nothing more to say to you.
Let me drink in peace. Stop that racket!
If Snake is seen wearing the scientist outfit while infiltrating or escaping the lab, then soldiers won't attack. Instead, if you let them, they'll send him back inside, thinking Snake's a runaway scientist, and ends up in the underground prison cell. During the battle against the Fear, he'll use 2 different crossbows. One of them is appropriately named the William Tell, which is named after a legendary hero of Switzerland who was an expert marksman with a crossbow and, according to legends, was forced to shoot an apple that was placed on top of his son's head. In the same battle, it's a little time consuming to do, but the player can accumulate over 60 arrows all over Snake's body, and maybe even more, and if the arrows are not removed, they'll remain on Snake for the rest of the game. The Konami code can be used once again during the battle against the End. By inputting the code on the map screen, the End's location will be revealed. However, this will only work on normal difficulty or lower, and we'll have to use the code each time you leave the area. Like the incident with the scientist outfit, there are 2 other occasions where Snake can wake up in the prison cells in Granny Gorky. If the End manages to shoot a tranquilizer round into Snake and it's not removed, it'll drain his stamina and he'll eventually collapse, and then the End will carry Snake back to the cells. The same thing happens if you save and leave the game for a few days, then return, only to get a cutscene of Snake awakening, getting shot, then getting carried to the cells. At the start of battle, if Snake looks to his right, you'll find the End's parrot nearby. Shooting it will provoke a response from the old sniper.
Oh, my parrot. She's dead. What have you done? You've gone too far this time.
There's one strange way of defeating the End. After saving during battle, then leaving the game for about a week, or setting the game's console clock forward a week if you prefer, by the time you return to it, a cutscene will show Snake winning the battle due to the End passing away from waiting too long.
Major, I found the End. He's dead.
What the hell happened?
Maybe it was from old age.
You mean you kicked the bucket in the middle of a battle?
Maybe.
Well, Snake, the victory is yours.
So that's the end of part 1, and I hope you enjoyed it. Part 2 will be available within the week, and when it is, I'll link it to the end of this video. So until part 2, bye everyone.